Hi, welcome to the next edition of the 5% podcast with me, Bryan Mansell from Gazeal. I'm delighted to say today I'm joined by the legend that is Chris Webb, who is a high-level elite coach in the property sector. So really, really excited to have him on board today. Chris, how you doing? Are you well?
I'm really good. Thank you for really bigging me up. That puts no pressure on me at all for the entire podcast. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, I could do a lot worse, so that's fine. So yeah, Chris, thanks for joining us. So we're going to be talking about today, because estate agents are so busy, right? They've got so much stuff going on. I mean, I remember back in my day when it was literally a pen and paper and a pad and a phone and that was it. But these days there's so much tech and prop tech and things I've got to remember and dashboards to log into and all this sort of stuff, CRMs to master, as well as doing the day job. One of the things I'm really keen for our listeners to hear from you about, being an expert, is how do they sort of separate the good stuff that they should be talking to their customers about, and how do they deliver that when it comes to a proper process of delivering something new, a bit of a change?
I think the biggest issue that agents come against these days is how do they make themselves look different from the competition. So, if you're the same as everyone else, if I tried to sell you two buy-rows that are exactly the same, and I said, Brian, this one's 100 quid, this one's £1, you'd go, I'll go for the pound one every day of the week. So the biggest issue that most agents have is, number one, how do we get known? So do people actually know us enough to actually call us out? And the stats are fairly shocking about how many agents the public actually know. And then second of all, when you do get called out, how do you turn into a conversation where sort of you're the obvious choice and it's not just, right, what's the price, what's the fee, or you turned up on time, you'll do sort of thing. So it's kind of making yourself different from that competition. And I think there's, you probably get, I'd imagine, slightly frustrated with this. I would guess that when people on board with Gazeal potentially, it's kind of one social media post of like, really proud to partner with Gazeal and that's that. And Brian, the phone's not ringing sort of thing. When you think that the average person these days will scroll the length of 3 Eiffel Towers on their phone every single day with their thumb, just doing over and over and over again, your one post that says, oh, I'm really excited to partner with Gazeal gets swamped very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So I think it's about having a strategy and a plan in place to have a launch of anything in your business, whether it's, partnering with Gazeal, for example, or, a new promotion you're doing or a Black Friday deal or whatever you're doing in your business. It's about having a structured plan in place you can follow. And, almost a fun way of looking at it is go, what would be the complete opposite? If we wanted no one to work with Gazeal or to do the Gazeal Agreements or anything like that, what route would we go down? Well, we wouldn't tell anyone about it. So we'd literally be silent about it. We wouldn't train the staff up on what it actually does and how it can benefit the homeowners at all. Wouldn't benefit them how to actually use the system and how the agreements work or any kind of question answered. So basically, if we do the complete opposite of that, we're probably going in the right direction. So if you came to me today and said, Chris, we want to launch Gazeal with your estate agency business, I'd be like, great. Well, let's put a plan in place to make sure we hit this as much as we possibly can do. I'm a big believer, and one of our sort of company ethoses is maximum attack. So if we're going to do anything, we are going to go absolutely nuts for it. We're not going to do like, we're just going to put our toe in the water. No, none of that. Like if we're launching anything, be prepared for social media, for multiple emails, for Facebook Lives. You're going to know about it, because people just don't, unless you do that, people just don't remember it. So you have to really like overly bang the drum about something for anyone for the penny to drop. So recently you might have seen that Alex Hormozy launched his 3rd book, I think it is in total. And he's come out quite publicly and said he spent millions and millions and millions of dollars on publicizing that book. And I remember watching a behind the scenes video the other day, and this guy approached him in the street and was like, oh, Alex, I'm the biggest fan of you sort of thing. I think you're amazing. And Alex was like, great, are you coming to the book launch of the weekend? And the guy was like, what book?
What book launch? Yeah.
Yeah, and you think to yourself, that guy spent millions of dollars, podcasts every day, YouTube videos, some of the biggest producers in the world have him on their shows, and that person in the high street or walking past him in Main Street still doesn't know he's got a book coming out. So for you to put one post on your social media and go, well, everyone in Winchester's going to know I've got Gazeal coming on board, like crazy. So
do you know what? It's kind of, sorry to cut across you, but it reminds me of my days in a estate agency where people used to say, oh, we've been out door knocking and it doesn't work. And you go, well, okay, how have you got on? Well, I knocked on one door and nobody was in, so I came back.
Yep.
And okay, that doesn't mean door knocking doesn't work. It means that one person wasn't in. So you got to just keep going and keep going.
100%. And I have an ongoing joke with my clients, and that is, the amount of marketing you should be doing as a business, your goal is to get a phone call from someone to say, please bugger off with the marketing. This is your 5th letter I've received from you. I keep seeing your stuff on social media. You send me leaflets. Not like, can we just stop it? Like for them to take time out their day and go, this is actually starting to annoy me. Brilliant.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
least they know who you are. You're that annoying bastard estate agent who sends them leaflets every Tuesday, but at least they know who you are to start off with, and they'll kind of respect you for your proactiveness. So
Yeah.
I would look at it as a structured going forward. So effectively, you'd probably start a month out, something like that, and you do like sneak peek. We've got this coming soon. This is what we're launching in the month. Really exciting to be, partnering with an agent that you can offer something really different in the marketplace, and everyone's gonna be really excited about this coming out. And then probably 2 weeks before, you start doing some sneak peeks on your social media, for example. This is coming soon. This is what we're going to do with it. And it just builds up and builds up until tomorrow. Are we going live with this? And then eventually it's going to kind of culminate in a live launch in your office. It could be get some drinks and nibbles in and get a few pictures in the office. It could be a social media live event. Whatever your budget or appetite is, you need to go, this is a big deal. Because if you think you're going to go on your first market appraisal and go, did you see my social media post? We partnered with Gazeal. They'll be like, no. Yeah.
So Chris, why do you think, and what's your experience? Why do you think that estate agents aren't very good at making plans, at having a strategy with something?
I don't think it's necessarily just estate agents. I think it's generally just people in general. And I think that for you and for an estate agent listening to this, and so same for me, my business is a lot of my life. My partner's next door, so I won't speak too loudly, but it's a big part of my life. It's a big part of my focus. A lot of things I think about are work related. And if I had £1 for every time my partner leaned over and said, what are you thinking about? And I went, work. And then she rolled her eyes like I'd be a millionaire. So it's a big part of my mindset. But if I talk to an estate agent on the high street, for example, and said, oh, what do you think about Chris Webb and the estate and consultancy? They're probably like, I see some of his stuff online. Yeah, I've seen 3 pictures of him walking down the street with a picture. Like, it's 0.0001 of their mindset. So for you, big slice of the pie. For them, tiny, tiny, tiny. So you have to kind of hit people a lot more than you think before they actually realize who you are and what you do. I mean, as a business, we pump out 4 podcasts a week. We do 2 YouTube videos. We have YouTube Shorts running every day. We have TikToks running every day. We've got a bulk email every week. We've got a LinkedIn newsletter every week. I still see people at estate agency events and I'm like, they're on my mailing list. I know they're on my mailing list. They've told me before they listen to our podcast. I know they've had my book and they'll go, what do you do again, Chris? And I'm like, sure. Like, what do we have to do? That is the kind of level you're looking at here. You almost can't do too much because there's always people that don't know what you do. So it's about having that planned launch up that event happening. And I mean, I'd be writing to like the local paper and saying that we've got this launch event, invite them along, invite some solicitors along, get some pictures there, get some social proof going for it, like make it into a big deal. Because if you don't think it's a big deal, then why would anyone else think it's a big deal?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really, really good advice. And what about, how as an estate agent would you determine, you've got a bunch of stuff, right? A bunch of new stuff that, that your boss has said, right, we're doing this, because we know what agency bosses are like. Christ, I was one for many years and I was just as guilty of wanting a new shiny thing because I felt it got us a competitive edge and all this sort of stuff. But you're running a branch, you're running a business, and you've got your bosses saying, right, I want you to roll this out, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. How do those people go about it? What's your advice for those people that might not be involved in the original plan, but are the ones that are being told to, right, I want you to pick up the phone, speak to the sellers today about this, that sort of stuff? What's your advice for them?
People only care about themselves. And if you keep that in mind for your entire career in business and in life, you're probably doing pretty well. So people don't give a monkeys about you, don't give a monkeys about Gazeal, don't give monkeys about your estate agency, don't give monkeys about your board. They care, can you make my life better by what you're doing?
Right.
I'm starving to death. I'm quite hungry. What can I eat to make myself feel better? That is literally what they're thinking. So, if someone isn't bought into that about what is in it for them, you're gonna have a hard time selling it. If you've got a lister, for example, let's say you've got a lister within an estate agency business, you're like, great, we're rolling out. I've got a great news for you, Bob. We're rolling out this product. It's actually gonna help you get more instructions. It's gonna make your pay packet even better by you putting it like, you're welcome, mate. Or, negotiators, I've got a really good thing for you guys. People are going to sign these agreements, but when they get property agreed, and the chance of it falling through are going to drop from 1/3 down to whatever it may be. And that's going to make even more of your deals go through and you're going to get paid even better.
Yeah.
How cool is that? Suddenly they're like, oh, well, Chris has just told me by this coming on board, we're going to make more money and my job's going to be easier. Suddenly, as if by magic, I like it. Whereas if you were like, oh, we're rolling this out because I feel like it and I saw something online and Brian DM'd me or something and I now signed up for it, I don't really care too much. So you have to make it why it is important to that individual and how it makes their life better, easier, richer. Why should they care?
Yeah. Okay, that's really good advice. The final question I've got for you on this, for our agents, is, so you've got all this, right? You've got a plan, you've got the buy-in from the staff, and then you've got your target audience, right?
Yep.
So you've got obviously your potential new customers and you've got your existing customers. And what's your advice to the agents about who do they deal with first? Who do they present the new service to first, do you think?
Yeah. Well, if I was doing it today, I would do limited numbers to start off with. I might say for the first month, we're doing it for 5 people. Picking some numbers out of the air here, because for 2 reasons. First of all, they're new to the staff themselves are new to the agreement, so we don't want to be like, oh, everyone sign up with this, it's amazing. Then be like, does anyone know how to actually do this? No, we don't. So I would start with low numbers to start off with, maybe just limited to 5 people for the first month. Now that's going to be good for 2 ways. First of all, the staff can get to know the system. And second of all, the people that do use it, you can kind of get some good reviews and testimonials off the back of them quite quickly. So you can say, great, guys, 2 weeks use this. Also, people want what they can't have. So if you go, look, we've got this new, secured buyer way of selling your property, it's going to reduce the chance of your property falling through, which means I don't have to phone you when you're on holiday and say, actually, your dream home is going to go back on the market. Yeah. But we're at 4 out of 5 at the moment. They'll be phoning you pretty quickly, go, can I be 5 of 5? Or if you're like, well, I might be able to squeeze you in sort of thing. Whereas if you're like, anyone can do it to start off with, they'll be like, well, okay, well, if anyone can do it, then, what's the rush sort of thing? So people like a bit of scarcity and want to have what other people have got. So if you're like, look, we've only got this running, we've literally just launched this today, and I reckon we can be fully booked for this by 2 days' time, they'll be phoning up saying, can we go for that secure sale thing we talked about? Yeah, we can definitely do that, yeah? So it's about sort of being a want maker in the business, but people will only do that if they understand what the benefit is to the homeowner. So if you're sat there and you go, for example, our fall through, your chance of your business or your sale falling through is 1 in 3, and we're going to change that to 1 in 10. People will be like, oh, I kind of get it, but we all know that people make choices based by emotion. They then kind of back it up by logic behind it. So again, I'll throw my partner under the bus here. Every time she walked past the fridge and went, oh, I can have some chocolate because I went to the gym this morning, because she's like, well, I want the chocolate, but I can justify it by saying I went to the gym this morning, so therefore it's all okay. So people are exactly the they make the decision based with emotion, and they back it up with logic behind the scenes. So what needs to be in it for them to go, I either want to, going to enjoy this, or I'm going to avoid some pain. And generally, people are wired to avoid pain as much as possible. So instead of me going, it's going from 1 in 3 to 1 in 10, I'll be like, look, this is going to reduce the chances dramatically of me phoning you up one day and saying, I'm really sorry, but we've lost your buyer and you've lost that house you're going to go for. And you're going to have to talk to your partner and tell that the property's fallen through. We have to go back on the market and start viewings all over again. I'll be like, bugger that. I'd like to avoid that. Thank you very much. What can you do to do it? So break it down to what is in it for me. If you look at the members of parliament, for example, no one stands up and goes, oh, there's 100 post offices closing. That's 10% of all post offices nationwide. They go, I've got Mrs. Jones and she now has to walk 25 minutes to the post office and she's got a dodgy hip and how's she going to survive? They break it down to the individual so we can all kind of picture that Mrs. Jones struggling to get to the post office rather than just going, 45% of people disagree with this. So break it down.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because actually it's now made me think about when you watch a news article, for example, or a special report, they don't just do into the general figures. They go into a specific potential location and interview one person who's had that issue. And then they talk about afterwards the wider issue and how many people that affects. But they always get the localized version first. Yeah, that's really, really good advice. So is there anything else that you want to get across about what we've been talking about to the community of agents that are going to be watching this?
Yeah, I think that don't underestimate how many people don't know what you're doing. Because, and that is across the board. That's with regard to your general marketing. That's with regard to rolling out new products, with regard to everything. It takes a lot more marketing and a lot more kind of waving in front of people's faces before the penny will drop. So I alluded to this earlier, but you're on average, the average estate agent competes against 12 other estate agents. So that's okay in the grand scheme of things. But then the members of the public can name 3. So if I walked down the high street and said name 3 estate agents, they could probably just about do it. The number of people who couldn't name 1 estate agent was actually worryingly high. So that's not Foxtons, that's not Knight Frank, that's not Savills. They're like, I can't name a single estate agent. So what are those people going to do when it comes to selling their property? They're probably just look around, see which boards they drive past, and fingers crossed from there. So there is almost no such thing as a rev limiter for your marketing of your business. And as an estate agent, you are a sales and marketing business. If your marketing is really, really good, the sales job is just turn up with DocuSign. If your marketing is terrible, you can have a really hard job on the sales side to get that message across.
Yeah. Well, Chris, that's fantastic. Thank you very much indeed for that advice. We do relatively short podcasts of 15 minutes, and this is bang on 15 minutes, so that's perfect. So thank you very much indeed. And if you want to talk to Chris, you should be talking to Chris about your business, whether you're a small independent or whether you have a multiple regional network. Then Instagram is one of the best ways to get hold of Chris, and it is the estateagent.consultancy. Look Chris up and get in touch with him. Chris, thank you very much indeed for today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on, Bryan. I really appreciate it.